Hey everybody, welcome to another installment of the Rambling Film Group podcast. Thank you guys for joining us today, whether you're watching, listening, whatever medium. Thanks for taking some time out of your day to spend with us. So tonight is actually Halloween, so we actually are getting together and doing a little bit of kind of, I guess, spooky themed podcast today. Yes, I did say spooky themed. We're going to talk some just horror movies and horror content in general, and then also follow up with or finish up rather with a review of the latest Halloween movie that just came out pretty recently. But before we get too far in it, we have our general cast with us today. So I have Kelsey here beside me.
Hi guys.
Remotely we have Sai.
Hey everybody.
And then making his debut with RFG today, we have Daniel with us.
Hello.
He's gonna be like me.
Yeah, you guys are very quick with that intro there. I know what to say.
Simple.
But yeah, it's all good. So we're gonna go ahead and jump right into it, and probably just have like a pretty casual discussion. I don't think we even figured out how exactly we wanted to do this.
But we're doing it.
We said we had options. And
we're just
right now. We have options.
We're just gonna ramble it off. That's why we call ourselves the Rambling Film Group. We're just gonna go with the flow here.
True. Okay. Well, I can start it off too. And I'll just say for this year so far, and like I said, the conversation can extend to wherever we wanted to go. But for just this year, I'd have to say, in terms of movies, because I want to talk about television a little bit too. But in terms of movies, there's two that stood out to me the most in the horror genre, and those two were Hereditary and A Quiet Place. Very different movies, very different, like, kind of not interpretations, but kind of veins of the horror genre.
One's like paranormal, one's like
sci-fi and everything like that. Yeah. But yeah, they both were just super, super interesting and captivating in the way they told the story. And it was just different than anything I'd seen in the genre. So, like, A Quiet Place employing, sound design and how they were, employing silence and everything in it. It's pretty amazing for something to be, no pun intended, as quiet as it is and like still be as captivating. And then at the same time, Hereditary on the total like opposite end of the spectrum, where it was truly just like a drama for like 75% of the movie, and kind of in the last act really dives into the horror aspect.
Real quick
and real bad. Yeah, real bad. Yeah, real quick. But those are just two high marks in film from this past year. Out of a year where we were going through the list, there's probably like at least 10, 15, maybe even 20 horror films that were released this year.
Yeah, there's a frick ton of horror that was released. And we were going through it, and we're pretty big horror fans in general. We're like, wow, we missed so much. So.
I'm trying to see if it can show on the screen.
He's wearing the Shining shirt.
Yeah,
okay.
I can see the word the. That's all I can see.
What's that?
I can see the word the. And what's at the top, a masterpiece.
Lift a little bit higher.
All right, there we go. There we go. We got the whole thing now.
All right, cool. I was trying to get it in. But yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I wasn't saying
that's
all I
said.
Okay.
I was going to say, I was looking at the list of movies too, and I must admit, even though I'm not a huge horror fan, I've probably seen the most horror movies in theater this year that I have in like my whole entire life. I saw... what was it? Silent Place, and then I saw. Yes, thank you. I totally went blank again. I saw Hereditary, and then I saw Halloween, and I guess if you want to put the Meg in the realm of horror, I mean, not that I really do, but I mean, some people put shark films like that in horror because it really does scare them. Me, I just look at the reality of only like 6 people die a year from shark attacks, so like what's really scary about that? But anyway, I will admit I probably watched sorry, I watched somebody get blocked by the rim in the basketball game, so I kind of chuckled. I apologize. But yeah, I there has been a lot of horror movies this year that you don't realize that there's just that many. I will say, out of all of them, A Quiet Place is by far my favorite one. John Krasinski is magnificent, and he just did a fantastic job with that. I love the way he employed basically making it a silent movie. When was the last time you went to a theater and watched a silent movie? I don't think I've ever seen one in my whole life. The last time I've even heard of a silent film was like in the 30s and 40s. So it's definitely been a while since we've gotten that. I will admit, Halloween just was not scary for me. There were so many scenarios in that movie that I looked at and I was like, if you just do this, you don't get all of this. So stuff like that just isn't scary to me. But yeah, there certainly has been a ton of horror movies this year. Go ahead.
I feel like that's a staple for all like horror movies, in the sense where like if you would just do this, then you would probably be okay. But it's a horror movie, so you're not gonna do it, and I know you're not gonna do it.
Yeah, and
I'm still gonna be upset about it.
And that's why I don't typically watch them, because they just aggravate the hell out of me. Like it's so yeah, that's part of the reason why I'm not a huge horror fan. But you are absolutely right. In most horror films, it is like, if you just don't do this, none of this happens. And so I can't sit there and watch a horror movie and not think of that, and so then it takes away the pleasure from me.
You know which horror movie got me? That got me like, even though it's like I know it's not real, was the old school Leprechaun movies.
Oh man! Man, those are ridiculously scary, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of excited that Sci-Fi is bringing it back next year.
Nice. I don't know if I'll watch them, but as a kid,
hold on. Incredibly different tastes in horror films. Like, it's insane.
Look, see, here's the thing. Here's the disclaimer on that. I watched Leprechaun, what is it, in the Hood or whatever, when I was like 8 or 10. I'm sorry, at 8 or 10, that was spooky and scary as shit. Now, if I were to watch that now, like, it wouldn't bother me, but as a a kid, yes, it got to me.
Yeah, dude. I remember having nightmares of, he sees a dude with a gold ring and he goes and he bites his finger, and it was completely fake. And as a kid, I was terrified. And then I went back and watched it maybe like 4 years ago, and I just laughed because the finger looked like a plastic finger that I had put in a bowl of in one of my bowls for my Halloween decorations. I was just like, but dude, that I still have like a little bit of a fear of leprechauns because of that movie. I'm just like,
that is one of the craziest fears I've ever heard somebody have. Like, it's fantastic. It's just like, I'm just like a little bit still afraid of leprechauns.
So do you not eat Lucky Charms?
You know what? I used to eat Lucky Charms, and then that one, what was it where they on Rick and Morty, when they're starting to eat that dude open again, and they're looking for their Lucky Charms, and they're like splitting them up from the stomach.
that is terrible.
Yeah, and after that, I'm just like, I'm good. I'm not gonna
lie. That might be the cringiest moment in Rick and Morty for me, is when they cut open the leprechaun and start eating the cereal back out of him. So yeah, I don't have a fear of leprechauns, but I do understand like that. It's weird.
Yeah, it's definitely an irrational fear, a fear of leprechauns because of my childhood. I remember my aunts would make me watch it, even though I hated that movie. So
I remember.
Okay, I can understand now. I just didn't know if you guys were gonna say that you saw it as a kid or not.
Oh yeah, no. If I saw it when I was like 15,
I didn't see the first one until probably three or 4 years ago, and yeah, it's laughable. It is.
It's horribly
it's horrible.
Laughable.
And Jennifer Aniston's first role, though, it's crazy.
That's honestly the reason we started.
That is.
Yeah.
I will admit, a movie I watched as a kid, Jeepers Creepers. If I watch that now, like, it doesn't scare me at all. But like my mom, like, I kept bugging my mom to let me watch that. And I think I was like 9, and she was like, "No, you're not gonna like it." And you keep asking and you keep asking, and finally she was like, "All right, I'll let you watch it." Literally, I think it was like 10 minutes into the movie when that first head gets cut off. I was like, "I'm out. I'm good. I'm good. I'm out." I think I didn't watch Jeepers Creepers again until I was at least 18, and it wasn't necessarily because I was still scared of it. I just didn't like have the opportunity to watch it. And part of it was, but there was still a part where I was like, nah, I think I'm cool on Jeepers Creepers.
That's funny. Yeah, the first horror movie I saw was The Shining, and so that's why it's
How
my
old
favorite.
were you when you saw it?
I was probably like 9 or 10.
You saw that early.
We snuck in and
You're
watched
barely
it.
older than the boy.
I know.
That's
I was up at my best friend Natalie's house, and she's like the middle child. She's got older sisters, like they're like 2 and 4 years older than her, right? So they were watching it one Halloween. So we snuck in, and we were like army crawled with our blankets. I can remember, and we were outside and like watching it. I was terrified. So that's my favorite movie and I still find it incredibly scary because it's flashbacks. Same thing with the leprechauns.
I will say, since we're talking about the best horror movies that we've seen, I'm gonna go and say the worst that I've ever seen, and that is Children of the Corn. I'd never understood why so many people said that was a great horror movie, and then I watched it, and I sat through like almost 3 hours of a fucking movie, and I didn't get scared once.
Bro, how old were you when you watched that movie?
I was like 22.
Oh, that's why. I watched that movie at like 10 years old. Yep. Bro, I could not sleep for such a... Dude, I remember the kid just like mad dog stare at at this dude on a fucking like wheelchair or something, and like the wheelchair starts to move into the middle of the street by itself and onto oncoming traffic, and the little kids are just like staring it down. Dude, my mom's like, if you don't behave, they're gonna come and get you. And I'm like, ah.
I will admit, growing up like around Mexicans, I heard the story about like the crying woman. I'm really excited for the movie that they're doing for that, because I'm not gonna lie, that was one story as a kid that did terrify me, and I really thought she was gonna take me away. It's really effed up what parents do to their children to make them behave. To tell them that a woman is going to come take them in the middle of the night, or, during Christmas they have Krampus or whatever. Like, just I feel like you can ask me to behave without lying to me and trying to scare the shit out of me.
Intimidation tactics.
For
your safety.
Life,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. I saw Children of the Corn when I was really young, and I thought it was terrifying. My mom always called me and my siblings, like when we were misbehaving, she's like, "You Children of the Corn." I want to know what I mean by this, and then she put it on. She's like, "That's what I think you guys are." I'm like, "I'm sorry, Mom."
My mom till this day still calls us Children of the Corn. She'll be like, "Come here, my Children of the Corn." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "All right, Mom."
All right, yeah. It wasn't until you see the movie, then you're like, "Oh, that's not good."
Right, like, that's what you think of when you look at me misbehaving. I feel like the issue's with you at that point, not me.
Oh, man, yeah.
That's right.
What other ones I saw from a young age that probably, like, if I rewatch them, like, when I rewatch them, they're bad.
I think it's Tales from. I think it was a movie called
Tales from the Crypt.
I think there was an iteration of it. I think it was like Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Hood. There's this one where there's like they go into this attic, and there's this there's this guy who is like sweating and he's like freaking out, and like they were up to no good and stuff, and they went up into the attic, and for whatever reason they were like trying to calm him down, and he like rips off his shirt, and then that whole attic just turns into like an inferno, and it's like a giant devil Satan thing, and like he's just laughing. Everybody in there's like a burning in his like lair, and like he's just laughing. They're sinister, and I went to my room and I just cried like a little girl. I just don't remember what movie it was, and my mom showed it to us again. Thank you, parents, for terrifying us in the most worst way possible, where you have nightmares for like a week of burning in hell.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. So many good ones.
I was gonna say, my parents, like...
Well, yeah, we already know how that... Well, okay, Daniel doesn't know how that works, but we know how that works.
Yeah, my parents are, like, super, super strict in terms of religion and everything like that, so I never... Like, they never had any, they never showed me any horror movies, anything like that. So, like, my experiences, like, from memories from a young kid, the only, like, kind of towards that angle I'd ever see were sci-fi horror films. And so the only real memory I have like that of getting like legitimately freaked out by a horror movie was Alien.
I
And I
remember
remember-
the fourth kind.
Oh no, that was like a well, I don't remember how old it was. I think I was a freshman in college, but
Okay, never mind.
but yeah, that one did freak me because actually aliens were the thing that like freaked me out the most. So that one got to me. But anyways, with Alien, I believe I was 9. I was either 8 or 9 years old, and but one of my friends put it on, and there was a bunch of us boys there too. It was like a pretty big sleepover. I had no idea what was going on, but I was interested because I like sci-fi. So I was like really interested
And then
going on.
popped out of a chest.
And then what's happening. And so if you have again, like just like the cat, like in case you guys didn't know, the original cast, like when they filmed that scene, they didn't know what was happening. They didn't know like the full extent of everything. So when you're experiencing that for the first time, that's pretty dramatic, and especially when you're a 9-year-old boy. I just remember it was like pitch black in the house besides the TV being on, and I got freaked out far before he actually emerged. But I remember like looking away early enough, and I was just looking. I'll never forget just like the light of the TV on the walls, and just filling the wall and color, and that's like my lasting memory from that movie.
And then after that, would you go to bed? Like,
Yeah, I went to bed. Yeah, I was out.
Like I'm done.
Yeah. So that's my earliest memory with horror.
I'm trying to think. What other horror, like great horror memories do I have? I don't really think I have too many because I just was never really that into it.
Yeah, going back to A Quiet Place, I think one of one of my favorite scenes in that movie was the very opening scene or not the very open, but part of the opening scene when they're walking back and the little kid has the plane, and I think that's the only part of the movie that actually made me jump is when he's like running back to the kid, and all of a sudden you just see the freaking creature just whoosh and pick him up. I was like, oh snap! Not expecting that.
That was tough. That was tough to watch because I mean, you kind of that early on. I was expecting Dad to get there, right? Like it's too often that like you kill children within 2 minutes.
Yeah,
I was for sure expecting Dad to get there. When he didn't, I was like, this is heavy.
That punch and a jump scare all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I turned Charles and I was like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah.
I was like, oh snap!
Oh, he really gone. They really did this.
I mean, that just doesn't happen. Like at least that early on, right? Like,
yeah.
I was just like, oh, shit.
Yeah. And there's a lot of cool like elements of that movie that I really enjoyed, like the whole fireworks while giving birth. That was actually like really clever, and I found that to be like, wow, like that's actually really smart. If that was really the case of what was going on with those creatures, that just shoot off some fireworks way over there. That should drown out the screaming.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good moments, and
Now
the characters themselves are all because a lot of times in horror movies, you like. There's people where I'm just like, I want you to die. Like, when are you gonna die? Like at least half the cast to die a lot of the times. In this movie, it's rare when you're like, come on, everybody pull through.
Yeah.
And so it's just it was rare all the characters. I'm hoping for everyone to make it out of this.
Yeah. Now because of A Quiet Place, I'm kind of interested in that new Sandra Bullock movie on Netflix where it's similar to, it's kind of the same thing, but instead of not being able to make noise, for whatever reason, they have to have blindfolds over their eyes the whole time. Part of me is interested because I'm like, I don't understand the blindfold aspect. And the other part is interested just because A Quiet Place was so good by basically taking one of our senses or a natural aspect of the human body away, and you have to learn how to function without it. And not gonna lie, having to function without eyesight is about 1 billion times worse than having to function without talking. But there is some interesting things in that movie that I will probably watch it. But I will say I'm not 100% like bought on the fact that not seeing will play. Like it just doesn't in my head right now. It doesn't make sense why that would matter.
Yeah.
No, I got you.
I still haven't seen the trailer for that one. I still need to watch it to get a sense of what they're trying to do. But my last thought with A Quiet Place is, I honestly, I'm super skeptical that they're doing a sequel, even though Krasinski is like writing again, and I think he would direct it. They did things so well.
I feel like it couldn't be the same family. It'd have to be the same situation with a different set of people.
Yeah. Basically, you got to really separate from that first one.
Yeah, and I think that inherently is what makes it a little bit harder. I mean, I think that's for sequels in general, where especially in a movie like A Quiet Place, where it was very different. You don't get those movies where it's quiet or no sound and things. And now that we've seen it once, if you do a second iteration of it, that it loses that freshness. It loses that. Yeah. And so I think that's gonna be the, like you guys said, the stepping stone to try to get beat better, like try to beat that original novelty. Because I think I was having the discussion with Sai on the Facebook group about Avatar too, where the technology for the first one was amazing, and that's why a lot of people enjoyed it. But now he's doing another 4 movies. Where's that novel? Like, where's the novelty of the technology that's going to be coming into it? Is it actually going to be more story driven, or is it going to just be another look pretty movie kind of deal, nice special effects? So
yeah,
agreed.
I mean, that whole Avatar thing is just ridiculous.
I just don't understand making 4 probably like billion-dollar movies at once. Like I just, to me, that doesn't make sense. As a studio, how do you like really think that you're going to get your money back? You're expecting for people to not buy in just on the sequel, but you're expecting them to basically buy in on the 3rd movie, so they'll still go see the 4th and 5th. That's a big leap of faith. And again, his movies, they haven't really, they're never great story-wise. They're just great, like, for what it does visually for movies at that point in time. So yeah, I'm intrigued, but at the same time, I just don't understand financially why a studio would be like, all right, we'll go ahead and let you make $4 billion movies at once. Here's the money.
I mean, it's hard to see. Oh, sorry, keep on. It's hard to like you're saying, like, it's just kind of about like the technology and stuff. It wasn't so much like, wow, this was the best story we've ever seen or whatever,
I mean,
and then it's so freaking old now. Like, it's been so long, so that anybody who was like a huge fan of like all of that, like you, or like mostly just like the mediocre people like me, I was like, I enjoyed that. Haven't really watched it since, but I enjoyed my time in the theater. But it's been so long that I just don't care about a sequel, let alone 3, 4, and 5, and I don't know how.
See, I'm on the opposite side of that spectrum because I've seen that movie probably over 50 times.
Oh, okay.
And I love the movie not only because of what it was, like, technology wise. Like, I'm a huge Disney nerd in general, so basically that movie was like Pocahontas in space. Or Fern Gully in space, whatever you want to call it.
Yo, Fern Gully was my shit.
Yeah, so it was basically, so it's like Fern Gully in space, and I ate that shit up. I was like, no. And what's it called? Like, dude, when I first watched it, I kid you not, I would put that on every night before I was going to bed, and that was my go-to-bed movie.
Oh, that movie's way too long for that to be my go-to-bed movie. That is way too long.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. At 45 minutes in, 30 minutes in, I was knocked out. But it's like, I love the movie, and I'm definitely going to sit there and watch every single movie that comes out on it, regardless of whether the second or third one isn't going to be as good. But I've looked at movies that James Cameron has come out with. I mean, sure, you have Terminator 2, you have you have Titanic, you have pretty much all the Terminators, Genesis, and all those, which are all movies that I've enjoyed. They weren't not some of them were really like, they weren't amazing, but they were actually movies that I enjoyed watching. So I don't think he'll disappoint me as far as what the movie is going to be about or what they're doing in it. But like you said, 4 movies is kind of a stretch, especially when you guys said they paid them all off in one go, and you're like, yeah, dude, go for it. But hey,
go ahead.
No, I'll watch them, and I'm probably enjoy them even if they are bad. And that's just going to be me saying, you know what, I love the first one, so that just makes up for all the crappy 3, 4, and 5. So.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like you were saying, because he did Aliens. Like,
yeah, Aliens. Yeah.
So, like, if you just look at his track record, like, financially, he hasn't missed. So I can get, like, from that
but
aspect,
4 movies? Like, that's the thing.
I get the two sides of it. I get studio being, you know what, your track record, your name, like, you haven't missed. You know what you're doing. But at the same time, yeah, I would give that leniency for, like, maybe 2 more to round out a trilogy.
Right.
Add 4 more?
Right, like, I would be totally down. If it was like they gave them 3 movies and they were like, all right, we'll give you 3, and then we understand you've already written 2 after that. If it's a success, we'll go ahead and do them. But to be like, all right, we're gonna write you this big ass check for 5 movies, and you can take literally 20, 30 years to finish the last one. But we're still going to give you the money. That's where I'm like, yeah.
And that's actually where I was going to go with it, or I was going to follow up with it. It's like I haven't read really too much in what their contract or whatever it was when they handed them that fat check. But the thing is, it's like, if he's going to make 4 other movies, is he going to space them out far enough apart where the technology is going to be a different, or better, or even more advanced to the point that each movie comes out has like a slight technological breakthrough, like I was telling you earlier about what they're doing with the second one. Since it's going to be primarily underwater, they were having a lot of problem with motion sensors because of the fact that it tracks. They track movement with light. Now underwater, unfortunately, like, water bends the light and makes it really tricky to capture it. So they finally figured out a way after in the article, I think it said they had been trying for like over almost a year of trying to fix the issue that they were having, which slowed down the production of the movie. But now, so it's going to be all underwater with the Blue Alien, which I didn't think would be that difficult, but apparently it's really difficult to do. So,
and I mean, here's my thing with that. I feel like the answer is no. They're not being stretched out, because if an actor that's in the movie has already said she's working on 4 and 5. Like obviously, no, the tech's not being stretched out to the point where it's going to be a big enough advancement where when I go see 4 and 5, I'm going to be like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this before. So I just, I will see 2 because I am interested in the underwater aspect of it, but that's basically all I'm giving him until now. Just everything else seems really close together where, again, the story for me, I understand other people will see it because they are fans of his and they may like the story more than I do. But for me, the story has to improve for me to go see 3, 4, and 5.
And maybe get some actors that I didn't find to be too particularly relatable in that movie. I don't know. There's just there's a couple actors in that movie where I'm just like, why did you be in this movie? And just
why are you here?
Yeah, why are you here? But like the villain was a badass. Like, that guy was dope. He was just like he kind of reminded me. Stephen Lang's character. Yeah, he reminds me of the sergeant from Toy Soldiers, the bad guy. That's what I would. Every time I see him, I'm just like, yeah, you're the bad guy from Toy Soldiers. Yeah,
that's funny.
Were you gonna say something?
No, I have no idea. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
probably at one point, but it's gone.
Sorry,
I feel like what's his name? I feel like Cameron in this could end up being in like a Ridley Scott kind of scenario where just this could be a point where everything's not as well received for a stretch. You know what I mean? Like, these could be great, or like they could be like visually amazing, but there could be serious like issues with the storytelling and everything.
Right.
But like this could be a stretch where that happens for him.
No, yeah.
I think it has a high chance of potentially happening too, because I feel like Avatar is one of those movies where people really love it and are all on board, or people just kind of find it like it was fine. You know what I mean? So I feel like that's just generally how people are. Like, it looked great, but story-wise, it was okay. And so it's going to be tough to try to win back people who years ago weren't 100% on board with the story, and like also at the same time keep all the people who are like huge fans of this also happy. You know what I mean? Like, it's a hard line to follow, and it's just I feel like it could be a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally see it, and I'll be very sad if it doesn't do well because of the fact that I love the first one so much. But I had a train of thought and I lost it.
Oh.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we are supposed to be talking about horror. I mean, Avatar is not really horror related. So sorry, we kind of went on a tangent there. We normally do that. I don't even know how to bring it back to horror because there's really nothing horror related I really want to talk about.
Yeah, well, if we're gonna go back to the horror, there was I think it was the Halloween by Rob Zombie. That one was just like there's no other word I can think of, and I don't even think this is a real word, but it was brutalis. I don't even think it's a word.
I don't think that's a word either.
I'm pretty sure it's a boss on World of Warcraft. I don't know, but what's it called? Like the scenes where he kills people in that movie was just brutalis. That's just what it was. Like
Rob does do some like the stuff he does is typically over the top, and I will say I give him credit because I know me and Chuck don't like gore just for the sake of gore. He really doesn't he does it in a way where yes, there's a lot of gore, but at the same time, it's not just like you're not watching the movie just for that. So I do have to give him credit on that. I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan.
I love Rob Zombie, but I remember watching that movie and I'm like, this is not. I mean, I should have expected it, and I should have seen those deaths coming the way they came, but it was just brutal. And I'm like, I don't know if I could handle it like another 45 minutes of this movie because he just like picks somebody up and like breaks them in half over a window that for security guards and like. How?
I will say, in the new Halloween movie, the one death that was just kind of like, okay, was when he stepped on his psychiatrist's head, and his head just kind of like exploded.
I was just saying, he smashed it like a pumpkin.
Yeah, I was about to say like a pumpkin. Other than that, the deaths in this new Halloween movie were kind of just like, okay.
Well, right after that, too, the fact that he made the guy, spoiler alert, everybody, the fact that he made one of the cops' head into a jack-o'-lantern, that was weird. Yeah. That was a little bit much. Not only because just the visual of it is a little bit much, but also I thought it through, just the process. So you're telling me after he killed the cops being right there at Lori's house, he took the time to make sure he hollowed out somebody's head? Because I can't imagine that's a quick, easy thing to do. It's not like you cut off a head and suddenly everything just... slips right out.
So there's this video I saw making fun of Michael and Jason where it's like Michael and Jason when the camera's not on them and it's just a video of Usain Bolt running because like there are times in these movies where like the person getting away is running and like the last time you saw Jason or Michael they're just kind of strolling and next thing you know they're like right behind them and it is like how did you possibly catch up? How did you You're not. You don't look to be that fast. So yeah, I thought that was funny that somebody made a meme and they were like they run like Usain Bolt when they're off camera.
That's funny. Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. There's like the one scene where the daughter's like running away and stuff, and she's like stopping to like knock people's houses. I'm like, girl, you see, he's just walking by. You just keep running.
Just don't stop.
Like, keep running. Like you'll be fine.
I think that's the inherent creepiness of it. The fact that they're like, where are you gonna run to? Eventually, you're gonna get tired, and I'll get to you eventually. I'm in no rush. I'm like, I'm going to kill you.
Like, kill people in between doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's like, you know what? I'll go into this house real quick, maybe kill 2 or 3 people, and by the time I get out, you'll probably be gassed out like a mile away, and I'll go get you eventually.
Yeah, that's true.
That's funny. I kind of like that. You're like, you tire yourself out. I'm saving my energy.
Yeah, it's like, do you realize how tired it is to stab you 42 times? Right. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. That's funny.
Getting shot and hit by cars.
Oh, yeah. This dude's basically indestructible.
Oh, well, I mean, Jason's a zombie, so, like, no matter what you do, Although I did learn recently that Jason can feel pain. I did not know that. He just has an extremely high tolerance for it. So there are like scenes where like he'll get stabbed or shot where like he'll show some type of emotion, but obviously it's not like how much emotion we would show or how much emotion you would expect him to show.
Bro, I step on a pin or a thumbtack or something. I'm on the floor rolling. You shoot me. I ain't getting up.
That's it. This is how it ends.
Hey, look, all they gotta do is put me in a room with a bunch of tables and just no shoes, and I'm gonna hit my big toe, And I'm like, I'm out. You got me. I'm good.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh.
There's the whole Jason thing with which one was it? Shit, I lost my train of thought again. Gosh darn it! I had it. It was there. Oh.
I try to help, but I'm not familiar with the Friday the 13th movies. Yeah, I'm not big into slasher movies. I kind of like Sai was saying. Sorry, that noise threw me off. I forgot who I was even thinking
he's not big into just like gore for gore's sake. So that gets rid of a lot of slasher.
But yeah,
he's also not real big on the paranormal stuff too.
Oh yeah, well okay, it all depends. Hey Zuri, you gotta back up a little bit. You're right in the frame. You gotta have your cone just sitting up there.
The cone of shame.
Yeah.
My cone right now.
Oh, what I was gonna say, like, this is one of the other like more recent horror things I can think of. So like 2 movies real quick. Sinister. Have you seen that one, Daniel? Yeah, that's a great one. Sai, have you seen it by chance?
I've seen it.
Okay. So like I think I might have told you about this already, Sai. But like the nature of this, like, you know, entity or whatever is you can kind of like move through media and stuff like that. I used to get sleep paralysis halfway often, and one time I had one where I was like watching TV or whatever, and it like came out of the TV, kind of like The Ring or whatever, but then was just like standing over me while I had the sleep paralysis. So after that, I was super hesitant with anything kind of in that vein. And then I can still handle stuff on regular TV. Like, so we rent a movie, that's fine. And we watched The Conjuring, and I was fine. So it's like, okay. And we watched it because the second one was coming out, and her and all her, like her brothers and sisters and her mom all love it. And so they're all going to see it. So I was like, okay, I handled the one on TV. I'll be good. I'll go check out this one.
Conjuring, yeah.
Terrible decision. On my part. I've never been more afraid in a movie theater. I probably looked away for a good third of that movie. Just couldn't do it.
It's true. I would look over at him and his head would just be like down to the side.
That's when you know a movie has really like spooked you out, when like you're watching it, but you're like, nah. Tell me like when this is over, and then I'll start to look again. That's when you know a movie has got you like spooked, when you just can't even look at it.
There were moments like that where I felt that pull to like look away in Hereditary, actually, and that was one of the more recent ones where I felt that like pull to look away. I can't remember what one of the moments was in Hereditary. Maybe it was by like the fire, something like the fireplace towards the end. I can't remember. But I felt moments where I was like, okay, I know something's about to happen here. That movie also did get like prolonged moments really well, and they just let you sit there for a long time. And so I'm like, good God, what is happening?
I want to say they didn't have a lot of music in the scenes
either.
It was,
a lot of times it was really
sitting
quiet.
there in the angst of it all.
Yeah.
So I could just like hear my heartbeat, and feel my breathing, and I'm like, this.
What the shit?
But yeah, I think there was like one moment like that in Hereditary. I was like, I feel like I could look away. You looked away in one of those moments, huh?
Probably. Oh, I own it. I look away. It gets too much for me. I love the story and like the mystery of it all and everything, but when things feel like something's about to jump out, I don't like that tension. I can't.
We also don't really like jump scare in horror movies, so I don't like things that just like pop out. I prefer things that are just scary because of the nature of it, like Hereditary, scary because of the nature of it. Or The Witch. Like, that's not really a jump scare movie, but it's terrifying when you think of just, like, what is going on, the situation, like, the nature of the film. It's scary. So that's kind of what I prefer my scary movies to be, just the situation being scary. I don't like the, like, paranormal activity ones where it's just, like, constant, like, jump scares. Or... I'm trying to think. Like, the Insidious movies do that, like the jump scares and stuff.
They do a good balance of that.
That one is a little bit better balanced. But yeah, I prefer my horror movies to just be, because of what's going on, if I were in that situation, I'd be freaking the hell out. That's what I like.
Yeah. Before I head out, the what's it called? The last thing I was gonna say was definitely if you guys like the whole I guess horror aspect of it. I'm going back to the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. I don't know if you guys ever read the comic books for it. Mm-hmm. They did a really good job of adapting the comic books to the story, so it follows it really, really closely. It's a lot darker than like the sitcom that with Melissa Joan Hart and stuff. So the whole in the first couple, I think it was like the first 10 minutes of the movie the show I was watching it. I was kind of like hesitant to watch it just because of Sabrina the Teenage Witch kind of thing. And then like a scene happens and I'm like, oh, this is not the Sabrina the Teenage Witch I was expecting. And I'm like, all right. And like a lot of the way the references they make is like they're making about they have like their own theology, and they talk about like whenever something happens, like we would be like, oh, thank God. They're like, oh, pray Satan, or something along those lines and stuff like that. So it's like it's really cool. It has like a lot of horror, dark, just like that, like just I guess you could call it. They're not really horror elements. They're just like dark theology elements of it, and it's really good. Like I literally binge watched it in like 3 days, and it's only 10 episodes, but they're hour long, so it was pretty good. I definitely recommend watching it if you guys like the whole horror, creepy, scary witch and magic warlocks and shit. So it was really good. I liked it, and now I just have to finish Castlevania.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Sorry, just real quick. I'll say before you go, Daniel, I wanted to say, like, we should check out that one at some point. I can't remember if you said you saw Hereditary, but if you like that kind of styling, I think you would enjoy the Haunting of Hill House a lot.
Even if you don't like her.
But even if you don't, but I just say it's pretty similar in like it really explores like grief's impact, like on you, and like how that interplays with horror and everything like that.
Is that movie or show?
It's a show. It's a Netflix 10 episode.
I'll probably check it out. I'm gonna be at work right now. Halloween's usually pretty slow, so I usually can knock out 2 or 3 episodes of a show.
And they're hour long episodes, and then there's the 5th episode and the 10th episode. They're like 70 minutes. That was part of the reason why I didn't watch them, because I didn't want to sit there for an hour and watch them.
It's good.
So good.
I'll watch it. What's it called? Do you guys record once a week?
Depends on the week. Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes twice. Sometimes.
Okay. Well, what I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna try to binge watch House on the Hill?
Haunting of Hill House.
Haunting of Hill House.
I turned I'm just now starting to get it right.
The Haunting of, the Hills Haunted House or something.
Yeah, I want
So hopefully by the next time you guys do another recording, I'll have binge watch it. I can probably finish in a few days. Like I said, work's gonna be slow for the next couple of days, so I usually watch a few episodes at work. So, all right, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, all right, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Anyway, so we all saw Halloween.
Yeah.
Unless we keep recapping or going over.
No, we could do Halloween now.
Movies that we've seen or good movies we've seen.
We can do Halloween now if you guys want to. I'm down for that.
Sure.
Okay. Does anybody want to?
Well, Sai kind of started giving his thing with
and then I realized we were going to go over it later, so I kind of stopped. But I guess I just didn't like it. Like, again, and this just goes for horror movies in general. If you make it to where there are points in the movie where I look at it and I'm like, if you don't do this, you don't get any of this, I can't enjoy it at that point. Like, to me, if you're gonna, I understand that it was, because again, there's like 3 different Halloween timelines, which is where it kind of gets confusing. But this Halloween is supposedly basically a Halloween 2 of the original. This takes place 40 years afterwards. So I kind of get why people don't think that Michael is as big of a psychopath as he really is. I kind of get that aspect of it. But I still don't understand why you would transport a serial killer with just one guard. Like, even if, like, you're not expecting anything to happen, just stuff like that, I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. And then when he, this was my biggest, like, what the fuck are you doing moment. When he killed the first, like, high school chick, and then the cops go in the house, and the cop walks up the stairs and goes in the room but doesn't turn on a single light. I'm like, I'm sorry, that just doesn't logically make sense to me. So again, like, nothing in that scene is really gonna scare me because you're not doing anything I would do. So that, again, that's just my issue with horror movies or horror shows in general. In order for me to enjoy it, it has to be more realistic than just there's a killer and he's killing people, and people in this world are doing nonsensical things to basically make sure that they die. Also, since I was in the hospital, I couldn't see it in theaters, so I missed the post-credit scene. Oh, so like, is he actually dead or no?
I didn't realize there was a post-credit screen.
I heard there was a post-credit scene.
Okay. Well, then we missed it.
Yeah.
So, and some people were saying, like, it shows that there's gonna be another one, obviously, and he's not really dead. And again, it just, like, the end of it is he literally was on fire. How do you not, like, he's not Jason where he's a zombie. Like, he's a regular, huh?
At the same time, he had already been shot in the, like, chest or shoulder area, and then he got hit by a car. Not just a car going, like it just started and it went, like, 15 miles an hour. That car was easy going 40. Had to be at least 30.
But he was probably burning for, like, 45 minutes before they shut, I would assume, before they shut that off. So, I like, again, I can't speak to it because I didn't see the post-credit scene, so I'm not really sure what it's about.
Let's see if we can find it.
But just the ending of it, it doesn't make sense why there would then be another one.
That's funny. We left the theater basically saying that. We're like, so is this it? Because right? Because we didn't see the post-credit scene. And I was fully expecting, like, when she, like, flags down the truck, for him to be in the truck.
That would have been
that's what I was expecting.
I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting the same thing. I was like, okay, first of all, this dude is on fire. How's he in the truck? And then he's not in the truck, and I was like, okay. But I will say
that was gonna happen, but I didn't think it was going to be him somehow.
I thought it
was
happening, but I really felt it was gonna be him.
So I will admit, I kind of thought it would be two things. I either thought it was gonna be him, or it was going to be someone who was going to continue to try to kill them. That's basically, and I don't get me wrong, I thought the idea of someone else trying to kill them was more likely, but again, in these movies, I wouldn't have necessarily been surprised if Michael was in the fucking car. I will say, the way they, like, in the movie, where they show the daughter holding the knife, and then that's basically it could be something, like, again, I don't see this, but what if she becomes the serial killer or something? I don't want to sound sexist, but I wouldn't look at her as invulnerable as Michael, though. Like, if she gets run over by a car, to me, there is no way she should be getting back up.
She should stay down, yeah.
Well, I mean, she's tiny, so,
right.
Yeah.
They are knocked out for a bit. Because Michael was knocked out
for a bit. He was knocked out for a bit.
But he's also, like, 6'6", like,
yeah,
massive.
He's a big
also,
dude.
like, 7.
It doesn't matter. He's got rage. It fuels him.
His adrenaline kicks in, and that's what it is. Keeps his heart pumping.
Honestly, what it might be is he's just pure evil.
Well,
like, he's evil incarnate somehow.
Maybe.
And so,
I mean, he did kill his sister, like, what? He was 8 or 9?
He was
6.
6? Okay, so I kind of gave him a couple years on that one. And from how they describe it, like, he knew what he was doing to make sure she died at 6.
Oh, he stabbed her like 40 some odd times, right? So yeah, for sure. This wasn't like they were playing around. Somebody was running with a knife.
No.
Situation.
She's doing her makeup or something, and then he just walks in the room, and that's it.
Yeah.
First, slash the spinal cord. Second, stab.
Right. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do next, but it does sound like there's going to be more movies. I just don't know how you continue it after that. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. It would be interesting, though, if they can find some way to work in with the daughter. That would actually make me interested to see it. Because as of right now, I'm not real interested in seeing Michael again, because I just don't...
But, like, I mean, they're definitely not gonna get rid of Michael Myers, though.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense for it. Like, that's a statement. That would be like Friday the 13th getting rid of Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know.
But again, at least with Jason, like, you know he's a zombie. Like, you know, even if you stop him on Friday the 13th, he's still gonna come back the next Friday the 13th just because that's part of his deity. With Michael, there's really no like lore involved as far as like him coming back, especially with this movie being basically a Halloween 2 and not a continuation of all the other Halloween movies that have kind of put a little bit of lore into Michael, whereas the original and this one do not put that in there.
Yeah, he's just an evil, killing guy. Like, that's it. So, and I think that's part of my reason where I'm like, I don't really want to, because it's just not going to be as believable. Like, I mean, I'm a Freddy Krueger person over a Jason person, but
dude, Freddy's freaky.
I know, so I think that's partially why. I just kind of like his whole lore, like the whole dream stuff better. But like, you know what I mean? Like, but also with Jason, like, there's a reason we can't beat them.
Right.
Michael has been like, I was gonna say in captivity, but that's not correct.
I said subdued
for 40 years. So I feel like, you know what I mean? Like, we've already shown that like we can keep this as long as we don't have psychiatrists like breaking people out of facilities and stuff like that. Like, we should be fine.
So speaking of his psychiatrist, the moment his psychiatrist said in the beginning of the movie, he's been my life's obsession for 40 years, that's when I was like, oh, this psychiatrist is going to go bad, like, at some point in this movie. I don't know how he's going to go bad, but for you to say it that way, he's been your life's obsession for 40 years, oh, this isn't going to work out.
See, I knew before then, when he said, I took over for Dr. Lull, and he basically thought he was the incarnation of pure evil, and I'm like, you're breaking him out. Like, I knew right from the get-go, like, you're the reason he escapes. I don't know how he does it. I don't know when, but I know you are the reason. You're the cause. Yeah, and that was one of my biggest critiques of this movie, is it's so incredibly predictable. Yes. And a lot of horror films are predictable, but, like, a lot of times, for, like, the ones that I enjoy most, the story is compelling enough where it's okay. Yeah. Or the story is one where I don't completely understand what's going on, so I can't predict it. That's also okay, because horror is kind of like sci-fi in that genre, where I don't necessarily have to understand all the intricacies of what's going on to enjoy it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, depending on the story. But my slasher flicks, I need to be a little inventive, because it's basically the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I knew like Doc was bad from the
get-go. You could tell that he was gonna fuck up at some point in the movie.
There was just a lot of things that he said that was weird. Like that first thing, I was just like, "Oh, you seem sketchy." And then he says the life obsession thing, and then he said another thing. Like still, while they're like the interviewers are in the facility, what did he say? He said something else where he was like, "Crap."
I'm trying to think. What else did he say?
It was when he was referring to him, like, not speaking for 40 years. And so he's like, so we still haven't, like, seen into the mind of, like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, why are you saying stuff this way? Like, it was beyond, like, we still don't know because he doesn't speak kind of thing, you know? And I'm just like, what the hell's wrong with this guy?
And that was one of my issues, too. Like, there were a lot of things where, like, you just saw it coming throughout how they laid out the movie.
Besides those things, he had pretty crazy eyes at a few different points.
Yeah. Then he killed somebody just to understand the feeling that Michael has. Sorry.
Yeah, like he was like, don't touch him, don't kill him, and then he kills the cop. I'm like, what is wrong with you? You have some issues, sir.
When he was like, we can't hurt him or whatever.
He's government property.
Yeah, I was at the Kelsey. I was like, I'm sorry, bro. At this point, he's killed a man already. Like, it's...
this is it.
He's like, at this point, he's killed like 8 to 10 people that we've seen.
Right, and just, let's not talk about how many people he killed 40 years ago. Just today, he's killed 8 to 10 people.
But within the last hour and a half to 2 hours, he's killed 10 more people.
Yeah, so, I'm definitely just going to put one through his head, and we're just going to call it a night. That's just what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, and also, that's the thing that we're like, that doesn't make sense. Like, even if it is, like, an inmate who's loose, if they're killing people, like, you can take lethal action. Like, that is expected of law enforcement. We don't try to reason with the psychopaths, right? Anyway, yeah, so for Halloween, there was a lot. I mean, I didn't hate it. Certainly didn't love it. I don't necessarily want to see it ever again. Like, I'm okay to never see it.
I'm good on that.
Yeah.
They'll put it on TV.
Yeah, so I don't know. Another big issue with mine is, like, okay, so I'm kind of torn here. Like, first, like, daughter, I feel like, has a very reasonable position. Daughter to, what's her name? Lori, right? Daughter's Lori, I feel like, it's reasonable. Like, mom snapped and lost it. That's also reasonable, being chased, watching your friends be murdered, siblings, stuff like that. Stuff happens. All right, that sucks. But, like, daughter, like, growing up the way she grew up and stuff, I feel like she has a position to be reasonable. And so, like, we're making her out to seem like this horrible person for, like, wanting to move on for her life when Michael has been incarcerated for 40 years. Right? You get what I'm saying? Like, we see, like, Lori be like, you're a fool. He's always going to be coming from us. And if I was his daughter, I'd be like,
he's been locked up for 40 years.
It's been 40 years, like, so it's just funny, like, the movie, like, made it seem like she's just being absurd, and, like, we know mom's gonna be right, because Michael's always gonna come for us, but it's not like he was in for 2 years and broke out of prison. He's done this multiple times. It's been, like, decades, and so it was just interesting that the movie, like, made her seem unreasonable, and I'm like, I'm with her. Like, I'd be the person that was like, we have to be able to move on with our lives and function like normal human beings because it's been decades.
Yeah, it's not like Michael was sitting in, like, blood-written letters talking about, I'm going to break out and kill you. So I do get that part.
Yeah, and so that was frustrating because I'm like, what is going on? But then she finds out that Michael's being moved and, like, there was a bus crash and, like, he escaped, and she's like, what do you mean he escaped? This is the thing your mom's been talking about for 40 years. What do you mean he escaped? You have to know who she's talking about. It's the same person. Because she's just like, who escapes? I'm like, how?
With, like, 2 cops.
The one person that you hate your mother to talk, like, that's all she talks about, and you're going to ask her, who are you talking about now?
Mom, down the street. He got free. Like, no. And so it was just like this interesting thing where I'm like, I am 100% with the daughter. Like, we need to move on. And then she says that, and I'm like, all right, I'm with no one. I'm with poor Allison, who's just, like, thrown into this family and, like, grandma who can't get over things and mom who's just a dumbass. And, like, I don't know.
Yeah, again, there's a lot going on in that movie that I couldn't enjoy it with all of what was going on.
There was just a lot of things where I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that, and then, I mean, there were I don't know. They started Michael off quick, though, because within, like, the first instance, he had killed, like, 2 guard, or, like, there's, like, the one guard guy, and then that one guy where he's, like, ripped his jaw off, the dad and the kid. And the poor kid that just wanted to
I totally forgot about those jackasses. Oh, my God. I'm sorry. If I see a bus, like, just on the side of the road in a crash, and it's clearly a correctional facilities bus, don't get me wrong, am I gonna call the cops? Yes. But am I getting out the car to investigate? No. Like, no way.
You see, like, 2 or 3 of the people in handcuffs walking around.
Glazed over eyes, just.
And he's just like, what happened here? Let me go see if anyone's hurt.
Oh,
like,
also, he was an old dad.
Yeah,
you guys noticed. He was an old dad. That just threw me off.
But you're right. Like, the bus says, like, correctional facilities on it. People are literally in all white jumpsuits, handcuffed with their feet to their legs. And the guy's like, let me go see what's going on.
You stole the car, my 11-year-old son. Arm yourself.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of mad I forgot about that scene because that really was the biggest scene that pissed me the hell off. I'm just like, what? What are we doing? You're not only putting yourself in danger, you're putting your child in danger. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, that was really crazy. But Charles turns to me and goes, "They're handcuffed." Like you see them right there, they're handcuffed.
Right? Oh my god.
But yeah, no, I did feel bad for the boy though, because Dad just left him,
right.
and like he was smart. Like he actually grabbed the gun. Dad took nothing with him. Dad just like shut the car door and is just walking out, like nothing's gonna happen.
In a sea of criminals.
And then the boy's like got a gun. He actually goes trying to check him. Oh, this was another thing.
The doctor.
Don't shoot.
Okay. So it's just me and Charles in the theater, right? When we're seeing this movie, like we are seriously the only ones in this theater. And the dog. Oh my god!
It wasn't like immediate either.
No.
He'd been in there. The boy had been in for at least like a minute or two.
And Doc doesn't like say someone's in here, like it's safe. He also doesn't put his hands up and be like.
He just pokes his head out.
He like.
Yeah.
Like with like that voice, dude. Not just like, hey, don't shoot. Just don't shoot.
Like, bro, you are scaring the shit out of this kid. Like, of course he's gonna pull the trigger on you. What are you doing?
He could have like still like stood behind the seat and like slowly crept out and be like, hey, I'm unarmed, don't shoot. Like I'm a doctor and all this stuff. But he just pops up. Like, oh my goodness, that part killed me.
He shoots him so fast.
He does shoot him so fast, but I can't blame the kid. I would have shot him too fast too because he just pops up out of nowhere.
Like a freaking whack-a-mole.
Okay, sorry, just like a sports intermission here. Just so you know, Derrick Rose just got his career high today, 50 points.
Wow.
I'm super happy for that dude.
Yeah. Really, dude.
Good for him.
I am super happy for Derrick Rose right now.
Yeah. I can't believe you like that.
That's crazy.
Also, I would have thought he would have scored more than 50 at some point before now.
Who?
I would have thought Derrick would have scored more than 50 at some point before now.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he never had like a outside shot, really.
Yeah, but he could do everything else but that.
Yeah, but still, it does make it that much harder if it's never outside shots.
Well, think about it. It kind of talks about how fast we've embraced the 3-point shot. When Derrick Rose won MVP, the 3-point shot wasn't as big as it is now. So he could make threes. It just wasn't like he was just so good at everything else. He didn't really have to do it. I still would have thought that he would have scored it. Not saying he would have scored like 60, but I could see like 54, 55 in his heyday. But either way, still super happy for the dude. He's come a long way.
Yeah, that is great for him.
But I feel like as much as we've laughed at Halloween, is it really a horror movie or is it a comedy?
I mean, there were certain parts where I was really that damn doctor scene just
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm so mad. I forgot about like that whole sequence of events. It's so bad. Oh my god.
I mean, there's decisions in horror films like that people have to make.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, you know what? That's not what I would have done, but that's okay. In this movie, it's just like nobody but you. You are the one person in the world who would have made this decision.
Bus toppled over on the highway. People in handcuffs walking on the road. What do? Get out the car.
Do I take my guns? No.
Do I just leave my kid there? Yes.
Also, the kid is the only one that had enough sense to call the cops. Like, Dad didn't even say, like, hey, here, call the cops. Like, the kid on his own calls the cops, grabs a gun, like, actually tries to check for
tries to find his dad.
Tries to find his dad. You know what I mean? Like, that poor kid. And all he wanted to do was dance. That's what I feel so bad.
Yeah, and his dad was making him go do stuff he didn't want to do. He's like, I'm just really in a dance, Dad. I don't know what to tell you. Like, Bob's Burgers, you know? It's my passion. Jeez.
And he's so sweet about it too. He was like, "I'll go hunting with you on the weekends and stuff. Like, I like spending time with you. I'm missing dance class right now." It is so sweet and it's so adorable.
And he dies.
Just real bad, real bad. Oh man, that damn doctor told you. The kid shoots him so fast. Can't blame him. The guy popped up out of nowhere.
Right? I mean, also, that kid's got some good aim, by the way. He no-scoped him, too. He's just like, bow.
Oh, man. That was so funny. I lost it during that part. I was just like, oh, no. Oh, crap. That was so funny.
All right.
Good moments from the movie? Anybody?
I think the female-centric focus of it
that
was great.
Nice to have the women be the ones to take it down.
I thought Jamie Lee Curtis did a great job. I thought all three generations of women did a great job. I thought the granddaughter's dad, so the daughter's husband, I also thought he was entertaining. He was fun.
The people in this town are like crazy.
Yeah,
Dad's like third line is, "Oh, I got peanut butter on my penis."
Right?
Trust's like, was he not wearing pants?
And the mom was just acting like this was normal conversation. Like,
maybe at that point in her life, it is normal.
Maybe it is.
She's just probably like, you know what? I've just learned to.
This is how he is. No other way to explain it.
That, and then like the next scene, we've got the guy like going around kissing people like on the foreheads, like with the chapped lip crusty.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was like the next scene. I was like, what was with people in this town?
The black dude with the cowboy hat seemed a little off too. But like, what are we gonna do? Cancel Halloween?
Well,
maybe you should. There's like a crazy murder out there. You probably should.
Likes to kill people on Halloween.
So you probably should pull a bulletin out and probably cancel it.
Or at least put like a cop at the end of like the major streets and stuff. Like, no, we don't do that. We'll just keep it under wraps.
Was like, people just let Michael walk down the street. He was walking down the street, walking to this random person's garage, grabs a hammer, walks into the house, bashes the lady's head in, walks out, keeps walking down the street with people like there, and nobody's like, okay, I understand why the younger people may not have noticed it, but the older people knew, like, that's what he wore. Why would anybody else? At
the same time, it was 40 years ago, so even like...
That's why I said the older people. Like,
how old they are.
My big thing with that is not necessarily recognizing the mask, but if I see a grown man alone walking down the street, waiting for kids,
and a big
I am on high alert, because that was my main thing. I'm like, there's tons of like moms and parents out here with their kids. How does no one notice that this one man still has like gone? You've seen him walk past 3 houses and has no child with him.
Yes.
How is no one like at least like on alert or like, that's not normal, because grown adults in general shouldn't be out on Halloween just walking the streets with the trick-or-treating kids without kids.
And another thing is, with people on the street, was nobody screams loud enough that like someone heard it on the street and was like, oh my god, that was kind of weird. Maybe I should go knock on the door or something. That just didn't happen.
Halloween.
So yeah, I mean, as far as like good points of the movie, yes, I have to give like the 3 generation of women were excellent. Jamie Lee Curtis did a fantastic job. But other than that, like, I literally just watched the movie and was like, I don't know what's going on here. Why are you doing this?
I did like the relationship between the babysitter and Julian. I can't remember the girl's name.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Vicky?
I was agreeing with you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I liked their relationship. Like, it was cute, like, brother-sister-ish and stuff. Like, I enjoyed, like, their interaction, some of, like, the best out of everybody's
I had fun with it. Yeah, there's dumb stuff for sure. But overall, I had a decent time. I enjoyed myself. I wasn't sitting there thinking, like, I could put past, like, this stupid stuff, or I could just laugh. So I was just
It was funny. It was funny.
Oh, there was definitely some funny stuff in there. Definitely.
I don't think intentionally funny, but...
Oh, yeah. No.
Oh, man.
But I think that's it as far as that's concerned.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's...
I want to know what the post-credit scene was now, but other than that, that's all.
I'm sure I can maybe not find the clip, but I can find an article talking about what happened, for sure.
This does make it easier, because, like, I really thought that they just, like, didn't address it at all, and then somehow he was just going to be back. So...
Yeah, I just don't understand how you would bring him back after he got toasted like that.
I don't get it either.
Unless in the next one they do explain that he is some kind of deity that you can't kill, and they just haven't explained that yet. I guess that could make sense.
I need something like that, because I was having a hard enough time believing that he can get shot and basically still keep moving, then get hit by a car, like not a small car either, like a bigger car.
It was an SUV, right? Or like a
SUV. You know, so it wasn't like a Honda that hit him. Like it was a big car going for.
And it's a police SUV. Like those aren't, flimsy. But
and then he knocked out for like 5 minutes, and then that's it.
Yeah, and then he started breathing, and she started freaking out. She was like, "Oh, I mean, I don't blame her."
She like sees his hand moves, and she's like, "We gotta
get the fuck out of here." But she's also got the crazy psychotherapist driving. She's
killing people so we can better understand the mind of Jason.
So she pulled that. He spoke to me. If you let me go, I'll tell you what he said.
That was another thing. Like the cops. Okay, so the cops that are actually in front of the house, right? They see another cop car like go and stop. And it still takes a while for them to move. Also, girl doesn't run towards the cops.
That was when they're both out of the car, and Michael's door is like did he close it? I don't think we saw that he closed like the back door that Michael came out of. Why didn't you get out the car and run to the cops, or not to the cops, but run away in general?
Because you got out the door that was facing them, too. So I have no idea what's going on. Because the car stopped, like, this way, right? With the driver's side on this side. She hops out of, like, the front side passenger car. Like, looks, you see the cop car in the distance? And she's like, nah, forest. And, like,
yeah. And then she starts getting freaked out because she runs into shit in the middle of the night. And it's like, that wouldn't have happened if you just ran to the cops.
Yeah.
But
also, the cops probably wouldn't be killed because they would know Michael's right there.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna shit on the movie anymore. I won't.
So once again, guys, thank you for joining us for the Rambling Film Group podcast with our special Halloween episode today. Hope you enjoyed it.
Not a spooky episode anymore.
Oh yeah, it was. It still had its spookiness too. But yeah. Again, once you know where we're at on social media, so follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, like us on Instagram. Yeah, feel free to comment, interact with us, let us know what you thought. Let us know what are some of your most impactful and memorable horror movie moments and things like
good or bad.
I can't talk. Good or bad. Things like that, things of that nature. We'd love to hear from you. And we'd love to, maybe there's some stuff we've missed that we haven't seen out of the collection of us that definitely should be on our radar. So please let us know. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Once again, I'm Charles. With me right here is Kelsey.
Bye, guys.
And then Sai with us as always.
Bye, everybody.
Until next time, everybody.